ripping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
Well. That sounds like a party just about to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're going to talk about all of those things today. We're going to enjoy all of those things today because we are once again on location for this show number 430, which is kind of like 420, except it's 10 more. We're on location at what we're beginning to think of as our home away from the studio of Vinyl Draft Social Club in Kemah, Texas.
This place
and
rocks.
We are just so excited to be here with Doug Messinger, the proprietor of this fine establishment. And because we're here, we can do all three of these things. We can enjoy
all three
cigars. We can enjoy craft beer, which I've brought some great ones, or I hope to be some great ones with me. And then we're going to enjoy some fine spirits, specifically from Iron Root Whiskey. And we welcome back to the show Robert Likarish. Robert, hello.
How's it going?
It's been a while.
It's been a long time since we've had you on.
Too long.
I think you've changed the shape of your bottles a couple of times.
Yeah,
then.
you know, we like switching things up.
Cool. Well, we like having you on, and we really like drinking your whiskey.
I mean, this is Texas. Why haven't we had an armadillo-shaped bottle yet?
Oh, there is.
I'm sure there's a tequila that has one.
I think there is an armadillo-shaped tequila bottle, but I don't remember. I have not ventured to buy one yet. So you brought along a special guest. Charlie's here. Is the last name XCX or?
I wish I was that cool. Last name is Humphrey.
Well, Charlie, welcome to the program. You guys both with Iron Root, correct?
Yeah, Charlie is the brand new sales manager for Houston for us.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, you have quite a task ahead of you because Ian and I buy a lot of whiskey. So the shelves have a tendency to, unpopulate themselves, as it were.
That's right.
So, yeah.
I can work with that.
Well,
just let me know which stores. I'll check in frequently.
All right, very good. Well, we're excited to have both of you guys on today. I think you brought like 4 different expressions for us to taste. So,
you know me.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited and happy to be on the program today with you guys. And it's always fun to be back here at Vinyl Draft. So
yes, this place rocks.
This is awesome. I do want to give a big shout out and thanks to last week's special guests, Mark and Brian from La Sigua Cigar Company, the first cigar company in El Salvador.
That's pretty cool, right?
I was talking to some people. Actually, I was talking to our buddy Trenton from Oliva about this on Saturday. And he was like, really? From El Salvador? And it's like, yeah, they're the first ones. And that's why it's so exciting. If you didn't catch the last show, number 429, you can go back, watch it on YouTube. These guys are super passionate about tobacco and cigars and doing something new and exciting coming out of El Salvador. So
I think we'll have them on the show again, too, because I think they had fun.
Well, I hope that they, send cigars like they did this time.
Yes.
So it would be an absolute good thing. On today's program, we'll be tasting, as I mentioned, 4 different expressions of Iron Root, which is exciting because you guys really have had. Has there been a lot of expansion of your business since the last time we had you on?
It's gone crazy.
That in a good way, right?
In a very good way. We've got new stills coming in, the new barrel warehouse. We've got new bottling building going. Like it's getting crazy up in Denison.
That is exciting. And Denison is home base for Iron Root, so you're representing the Lone Star State.
Yes, sir. You drive north till you see Oklahoma, and we hold the line. So,
yeah, I can say as someone who has lived in Oklahoma, which makes me allowed to say this, if you drive north, if you're in Texas, you drive north until you see Oklahoma, stop.
What you're saying is you went too far.
Don't go any further. Yeah, stop. Enjoy Denison.
The first time I ever went to what was the name? Martin House Brewery. They had stacks of cans that just said Oklahoma sucks.
Yeah, no, that's a football thing.
They had a beer called Oklahoma sucks.
That's a football thing, is what that is.
I thought it was funny.
That's college football. No, listen, I lived in Oklahoma City for quite some time, and I can say about it, several things. Number one, it's actually a surprisingly livable city, but I have never lived in a place that wanted to be Dallas so bad in my entire life. They really, really want to be Dallas. We're a little south
So
of Houston.
you weren't quite living on Tulsa time.
That's right. I was a little bit west of Tulsa time. We are enjoying, of course, being in Kemah, Texas, and just a little south of Houston. Doug Messenger, the proprietor here at the wonderful cigar lounge that is above your restaurant here for Vinyl Draft. And you brought in the cigars today. Tell me a little bit about, I think we all lit the same one. You brought a couple.
We did.
What do you smoke? What are we smoking?
Well, the one that I just got in the second batch of the Vinyl Draft cigars from Stallone. And then this is the Alizan. This is the first one that I ever had from this brand, oddly enough, in Tulsa. I had flown up
See
to
how
Tulsa.
it all ties back together?
It all does.
Technically, we are all living on Tulsa time.
Yeah.
Well, Bob
Didn't
Dylan
have
is
that
what
on
ties it
video.
all together because I had flown up to Tulsa to visit the Bob Dylan Center right after it opened, and as I was leaving, I'm going to Google to see where the nearest cigar lounge is, and kill a little time before I go check in the hotel. And when I got on Google, I just did the typical cigar lounge near me. I literally was like, "Wait, what?" And I turned around, it was right there. I was practically right in front of
I love that.
Googling cigar lounge near me, and went in there and grabbed one of these. And I think, like a lot of people, when I first discovered this brand, I thought Sylvester Stallone started a cigar. That was the first thing I thought. But I had seen a lot about it, and I tried it, and I grabbed a few of them, and I started texting. In fact, Alan Denny was the first text. And I said, "Have you tried this thing?" Because I couldn't believe it just smoked so far above its price point.
Yeah.
And I posted some nice things about it, and then eventually wound up meeting the owner of the company. We became friends, and then not too long afterwards, he did a cigar for me, which is the Vinyl Draft, which we'll get to later. But I thought, well, we'll start with the first one I ever started with.
The one that kind of
The
hooked
first one that brought
this
you
is the
in.
one that hooked me. And
Yeah.
I still, to this day, look, I love mine, but I'll grab this one all day long too. So these are
And we had the owner of Stallone on the show here at Vinyl Draft, as a matter of fact.
Sure did.
He gave us at the end of the show, he gave us a 5-pack
Yes.
of Stallone cigars, different blends. Took that home, put them in the humidor. I swear they didn't last a week. They were every single
Went
blend
through every
was
one of
so good. And so very, very
And I
impressed.
keep reaching, like, my favorite in the line is that broadleaf.
Yeah.
That broadleaf, I keep reaching for that when I see it. And then last time we were here, me and Alan split a box of the Vinyl Draft ones. And I think I've got about 2 left.
Oh, well, that's enough for you to share one with a good friend and potential co-host and still have one left.
Yeah.
When I find a good friend and potential co-host.
Oh man, there's no way to make friends, buddy.
That'll be an important point of the show.
There you go.
So we will be bringing you the most popular feature, the most popular segment on the program a little bit later on. I'm stalling here to give you time to put your cigar down and pick up the ukulele.
It begins.
Yeah, because we will be doing drinking news, which against all odds and probably a lot of mental health advice has become the most popular segment on this show. It'll happen in the second hour, but we do have the drinking news teaser headline to give you today, and our teaser headline is I've got Polly. I'll just leave that hanging out there for you to figure out. So that's our teaser headline. We'll also be tasting some beers from Cooperstown, New York, and Ommegang Brewing Company.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be trying their Belgian-style blonde ale called Gnommegang. And you'll see when we pull the can out, it's got gnomes all over it. And I thought this would be, I didn't know that Robert was going to bring 4 different expressions. So I thought, maybe we should do the beers kind of Ian style, just in case, to make sure we have enough ABV going on here at the show. So we'll be opening up with a Belgian-style blonde that's like 9%.
Now we're talking.
Yeah,
like
so
it.
this is
I
your
like it.
territory right here.
Now we're talking. We only go up from there, right?
Right. Actually, we bounced back just a 0.5% or so for an IPA from the Manhattan Project Beer Company out of Dallas. It's called Particles Collide. It is a hazy, and we'll be tasting that one. And then, not to be outdone.
That one's the lull in the middle of the set. That's the power ballad.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a sorbet to cleanse the palate.
And then we'll close with the big arena rocker from Cleveland, Ohio, and the Masthead Brewing Company. We'll be trying their coconut coffee Sunkiller. It's an Imperial Stout.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, when you describe your beer as a Sunkiller,
Darkness.
Darkness, exactly.
Like everything I love.
And we'll also be enjoying some what I'm anticipating to be some really good whiskeys from Iron Root. But before we get there, Terry, have we got time for the beverage of mystery before this segment ends?
Yes.
All right. So let me pass these around. The beverage of mystery, and we'll do our sounder here in just a moment. This is a part of the show where one of us will bring in a beverage of some type, usually but not always an alcoholic beverage. But we call it the beverage of mystery because the only person who knows what it is before it is consumed is the person what brung it. That is me today. I have brought the beverage of mystery, and it looks a little like a milkshake.
It does. It looks a little bit like Yoo-Hoo.
Looks like one of those bottles of
creamy
Starbucks.
Yeah, nice.
stuff
Oh,
that you
right.
buy.
Yeah,
That's what
the
it is.
Starbucks coffee in the bottle. Yeah. Those are surprisingly
cold
good, and I think
coffee.
I figured out why, because they're approximately 8,000 calories per bottle. So
Yes.
that's
When it's 90% sugar, it's
and
good.
that's right.
It doesn't
and no
hurt.
wonder it's good.
Although
All
this
right.
is awfully sweet.
Yeah. Well, we think
This
it will be.
smells
So
good.
let's go ahead and do our sounder, ladies and gentlemen. This is, and we leave that blank for them to put the.
Do you
sound
hear
effect.
it in your head like I do whenever we
totally
do it?
do.
Yeah, I totally. Okay, yeah.
Actually, I hear that in my head right before I go to sleep most nights. Just about to drift off, and I'm like, the beverage of mystery.
Explains a lot, buddy.
I was really hoping there wasn't a stroke that just happened right there.
I'm really, really hoping that is something I'll get to enjoy in my dreams. So, beverage of mystery, have you sampled yet?
I have.
Thoughts?
It's a Kahlua concoction.
Well, it does taste a little Kahlua-ish.
It tastes like a Kahlua concoction.
Coffee and
There's a little
caramel.
coffeeness to it. There's a Kahlua-ness to it. There's
Like caramel.
Yep.
It's a little too sweet for me, but it doesn't have that really artificial aftertaste
Right.
that plagues a lot of like
a lot of
fizzy
a lot of
alcoholic drinks.
the a lot of the beverages of mystery are either like a seltzer or a canned cocktail, and we run into this aspartame aftertaste a lot, which kind of ruins the whole impact of it.
It goes
for
well
me,
with
at
the
least.
cigar too.
Yeah, well, it's got a little, coffee generally does. It's got a little chocolate to it,
I think a little bit of ice to water this down would probably take away some of the sweetness,
maybe.
It's very
but it's drinkable, whatever it is. It's-
It would go great.
I enjoyed it.
It
Reminds
would
me of
go.
a Black Russian.
I have a question though. Is that a beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to be here?
I am so happy to be here, and our beverage of mystery today is a Cutwater espresso martini in a can. So I'll hand that to you since you're better at reading small print than I am without my reading
I
glasses
think you're
on.
so
but-
smart just because you
San
can read.
Diego.
Yeah. So this is
Contains milk, shake gently.
yeah. I
What's
didn't do a lot
inside?
of
Cutwater vodka, coffee, cream liqueur,
Okay.
and cold brew coffee flavor. Not cold brew coffee,
Cold brew
but
coffee.
cold brew coffee flavor.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Is that like
Shipped out of the
processed
caffeine right
cheese
now.
food?
Specifically
Just
processed
bring
cheese
in the
food.
cold brew coffee flavor.
Espresso martini made with Cutwater vodka. Well, it just says the same thing right there. Okay.
please.
Made with real
I think it's pretty
spirits.
good.
Yeah.
As
nice.
especially as beverages of mystery go.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. As beverages of
As
mystery
beverages
go.
of mystery go. But
This
some of these-
beverage of mystery will leave you with a mysterious evening if you're not careful.
yeah.
Comes in at 13%.
Oh, my God.
Holy moly! All right. Well,
Hey, real quick, have you ever done Malort as the beverage of mystery?
no, but I've been malorted by this.
Yeah, I've been
gentleman
malorted by
more
this
than
one too.
once.
But I just I'm just curious if there's an episode I need to go back and find.
Yeah, we probably need to make one up and insert it. Okay, we got to take a break. We'll be right back on location at the Vinyl Draft Social Club in Kemah. This is Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Just before the break, Doug was asking me if we'd ever done Malort as the beverage of mystery. And you said something during the break, Charlie, which I'd like to ask you to repeat because I was amazed and appalled at the same time.
Yeah, I have had Malort on far too many occasions, and I was once given a Malort pina colada, and I've never hated someone so much before in my life.
As the person that gave it to you.
That's a hateable offense.
That was violence.
I cannot even fathom a Malort pina colada.
It took 2 years off my life just hearing about it.
A Malort colada.
It's just,
Like, I'm about to sprout that distinguished shot of gray after you said that.
That's exactly right. And thank you for that. Well, now you know what to do if you got somebody in your life that you're not crazy about. You want them to maybe never speak to you again.
Yeah.
You know what I could do? I could make a Malort pina colada for my ex-wife. This would be a wonderful thing. This would be
as a revenge drink.
That's right. That's right.
I know this may be a pop culture reference here, but the White Lotus, when the guy was making the pina coladas with the poison nuts, I feel like that's the story that inspired that.
Yeah, this was the predecessor for that moment.
I love it.
Did you taste any coconut at all?
Yeah.
Did you?
It was like the worst part of spring break in a glass.
That's beautiful. That's so wonderfully put.
Oh my god!
It tasted like it was going out, but it was going in.
Amazing. Well, I'd just like to say, I know we have listeners in Chicagoland, and we love and respect you guys, but what is up with this Malort thing? The rest of the world does not understand it. Yeah. We also don't understand the Chicago Bears either, but that's neither here nor there.
The Bears.
We really do not understand, and I love Chicago as a city. It's so much fun to go to, but absolutely.
There you go. And I'm going to see Oasis in Chicago.
In Chicago?
In August.
So while you're there, walk into a bar, walk up to the bartender and order Malort.
So you get to see a bandana boxing match.
I do. I cannot wait.
The brotherly love will be thick.
It's a brotherly love tour.
The day after the tickets went on sale, Vegas started taking odds on the tour collapsing because the two of them got into it.
I love it. I love it. We have to tell us how the show is. Actually a very good band. So.
I love Oasis.
All right, so we have poured the first expression, or Ian has poured, I should say, the first expression of, I started to say of Malort. I so apologize.
Don't doing that way.
So apologize, Robert. No, the first expression of Iron Root Whiskey, and so you guys have been on the show before, but this is something different. Tell us what this is.
Yeah, we decided to do a little bit of a theme to this show today and do
That's good because we can never manage to come up with one.
We decided to go with blending. That's been kind of the fun. I guess the last year, the distillery, we've really been focusing on blending and playing around with things. So we ended up releasing a series called Sleight of Hand. And so this is the bourbon under that. It's a blend bourbon that we distill, some of our Bloody Butcher corn bourbon. It's got bourbon out of Indiana. It's got bourbon out of Kentucky, actually a couple different bourbons out of Kentucky. And we put it all together to kind of create a really fun, kind of harmonious bourbon here. And it's 92 proof, so it's an easy drinker. Again, I know... So the last time, I think the lowest thing we did was 115 proof. So decided we'd ease our way in this time.
Today's show,
exactly.
All high ABV stuff, including the beverage of mystery. Mm-hmm. I love this on the nose. This just already feels very approachable, very drinkable.
The cinnamon on the finish, like it just long cinnamon finish. It's so good.
It is good.
And a little bit of almost cotton candy sweetness on a retrohale. It's super nice.
I don't want to make this sound too simplistic, but if you're just getting into bourbon, what a great early thing for you to adopt, because this is just so approachable, so friendly. Doesn't assault you with with too much power, too much impact. Just drinks very smoothly.
Exactly. And that's my brother, when we sat down to make this whiskey, he was like, I want something that's crushable during 100-degree summers. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And so that's
floating down the river with this.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah. It's definitely a little bit different than our standard fare, and that's what's been really fun about it.
It's very full flavored too. Even though it's kind of a little bit lighter in terms of the alcohol punch, it is not lighter at all in terms of flavor. It's very full on the palate. Like you mentioned, the cinnamon on the finish just hangs out for a very long and wonderful time, but it doesn't necessarily come back and give you a big whiskey hug at the end.
No, and right up front, it has a very natural kind of sugariness to it that's not too sweet. It's really nice. And then kind of a mineral water, which I think that mineral water taste, which is very specific mineral water taste that you get with Texas whiskey. I think that's one of those things that helps identify Texas whiskey in general. And I absolutely love that.
The water that comes out of the hill country has a lot of limestone qualities to it because of the nature of the rock in that area. Yeah. And I think that's where some of that minerality comes from. Is that right?
Yeah, you look at the water that they're using in the hill country is going to be from the aquifer there, the Edwards Aquifer, and it's tons of limestone in the hill country. And that's actually what's really similar up by us at Lake Texoma, where we get most of our water from. It's all limestone. There's a bunch of fossils and stuff that are all around the lake. It's really kind of a cool place to hang out.
Tasting dinosaurs. I love it.
Pretty much.
And it's one of the reasons I think Texas whiskey is so superior to, say, Louisiana whiskey, because there they get their water from Lake Pontchartrain. So, and anyone who's ever been to Lake Pontchartrain knows what I'm talking about. We got to take a break. More tasting when we come back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Oh, yeah, that wonderful sound. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're going to get into the craft beer part of that momentarily, but we do want to thank, once again, Doug Messinger for allowing us to set up at our home away from studio, which is the Cigar Lounge at Vinyl Draft in Kemah.
If you're in Kemah, or even in the area, come down to Kemah and have a steak. You will be amazed.
I was going to say, yes, come down, have dinner downstairs, then get Doug to let you into the upstairs area and come smoke
Hit for the
a
second.
cigar. And I know we mentioned this the first time we were here, but you've got a vinyl collection here, a turntable, a stereo, and a vinyl collection that must be, what, 400 albums?
Up there?
Yeah.
Closer to 6.
Closer to 600 albums.
But that's not all of them.
If you can't find something good up there to listen to while you're smoking your cigar, there's something wrong with
Very
it.
true.
Because there's plenty of great looking stuff up there. So, in fact, I'm almost tempted to put it like on while we're doing the show, but then we'd be in violation of all kinds of podcasting rules, and so that wouldn't really.
Why is there no audio to this one?
Yeah, that's right. Trust me, Sinatra sounds great, and so does Springsteen.
Yes.
So and Oasis. I bet you've got some Oasis.
I got all the
albums up there.
Oasis, tons of Dylan, tons of Springsteen.
So I appreciate somebody that's got a really well-rounded sense of musical.
I was just telling
taste.
Robert, I just picked up the new Willie Nelson album, which is just an album full of songs written by Rodney Crowell.
I love
And
Rodney
it
Crowell.
is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Well, I'll listen to Willie sing anything.
There you go.
Yeah. I got to see him live. It was about 5 or 6 years ago. And oddly enough, on the same stage, a few moments later after he finished, Snoop Dogg came out and performed. So it was like, I think it was called the Contact High Fest. And it was, but it was really, Willie was amazing. And he was up there with that old, beat up guitar with the hole in it that he plays. Oh, love it. He was just absolutely wonderful. And I was so glad I got to see him kind of like, I would say in his prime, but he had to be like 98 or something at the time. But he was just amazing.
Well, I've got tickets to his Houston show in July, and the lineup is the Avett Brothers, the Mavericks, Bob Dylan, and Willie Nelson.
Wow.
Goodness, that's a heck of a lineup.
And he's just going to keep on going.
Lineup.
I think that honestly, Bob Dylan, I'm sorry, not Bob Dylan, but Willie Nelson and Keith Richards are the
Immortal.
they are. They're a tribute to the fact that you can live that rock and roll lifestyle and still be around for a long time.
Survive.
Yeah, I love it.
It's all about consistency.
That's absolutely right.
Or they're made out of different stuff.
Yeah, that could be too.
A little bit of cast
There was
iron.
a Simpsons episode on this. You just try to push all the diseases to the door at once, and they all get stuck.
Yeah, that was Mr. Burns. He
There we
had
go.
he had every disease known to man, and that's the way they described it.
My company was broadcasting live from a festival about 8 or 9 years ago, and Willie and the family were with one of the headliners, and I managed to get one of our employees backstage in Willie Nelson's trailer after his performance, and she was a little nervous. She had said, what do I ask him about? I said, ask him what kind of weed he likes to smoke. Because I figure my theory of doing interviews is always ask them something that they want to talk about, and then you can probably get them to talk about just about anything else. So sure enough, in the interview, she asked him, so Willie, what kind of weed do you like to smoke? And he actually, I'm listening to it on headphones as it goes out live. I can hear him shaking a bag of buds. Oh, he got all excited. This right here. And he started describing the strain, and it was, but the interview was aces from that point on.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a passion, right?
Willie was happy. He was in his happy place.
Have you tried Gnommegang?
No, I haven't. And I was just about to say, speaking of happy places, it's time for a little beer sample.
All right, I can't wait to see like this. I don't know if you guys have tried this yet. I was doing research while all the talking was going on.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So this is a Belgian-style blonde
Going back
ale.
to The Simpsons, of course.
It's fairly high ABV, right?
Well, coming in at 9.5%, so, it's medium range for me.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there's some flavor going on there.
Love this.
This
Wow.
is beautiful. The mischievous gnomes of Belgian Farmstead Brasserie de... I can't pronounce that. This is
But
hard
it's
to read in
gnomes.
this light. Yes, it's gnomes. There's a story about it on this can that I can't quite read in this light with my glasses. But Ommegang has made an amazing Belgian-style blonde ale here.
This Ommegang is a brewery out of Cooperstown, New York. And at least here in Texas, we are able to get beers from the state of New York. We don't get them from every state, but we do get them from New York. And I have seen this, in fact, picked this up on the shelf at my specs.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it is, and I just love the whole Gnommegang. I
Yes,
love the whole play on words, and I'm
pretty fantastic.
yeah. Remember there used to be a series of commercials. I don't remember if it was an insurance commercial. I don't remember what it was, but it was with the gnome. The gnome, and he would talk. The little garden gnome would talk on
Oh, it
commercials.
did have the garden.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
progressive or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that what that was?
Yeah. So I've always had a thing for the gnomes,
The
and I
gnomes.
don't have a front yard, but if I did, I would have. A
You
gnome.
would be
Yeah.
that guy with the nose.
I would be that guy for sure.
The nose.
For sure. Yeah. But this is a wonderful beer. Tell me what you're getting flavor wise, Ian.
Nothing but love. Sweet, fruity right up front, round all the way to the end with a big, a little bit of citrus finish, but like some stone fruit kind of notes going through it. It's so fruity, it's hard to even say what the fruit is.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So stone fruit I kind of get, but yes.
and it is just outrageous. And plus the mouthfeel on this, the carbonation is brilliant. It's got
right
just
in the zone. Yeah.
the right amount of carbonation to make it tickle the tongue a little bit. You look like you have something to say,
I
Robert.
was gonna say it's so incredibly drinkable for 9%.
For a 9.5%. Yes.
like, that's
Agreed.
amazing.
Now this I would drink going down the river.
Yeah,
I was a bit
100%.
surprised.
You're going to end up floating face down in that river if you keep this up.
When I was putting the show together, I thought, because we usually like to do like, a Pilsner or a blonde ale or an amber or something first, and then we'll do maybe an IPA and then a bigger beer at the end. And I had already taken this out, put it on the show notes, and then I was looking at the can. I was like, oh my God, 9.5. Like, that's unusual for a blonde ale. So you could almost call this like
This
an Imperial blonde ale.
Right away might be one of my favorite things I've had from Ommegang.
Yeah, I agree. We've had a lot of different, they do a lot of sours and a lot of bigger beers and stuff, but this is exceptional. Exceptional.
It's a
Yeah.
perfect summer beer. You're talking about that fruit, the drinkability, just the carbonation.
Right. I would say it is one of the more crushable 9.5% beers I've ever had in my life. Ian,
Good job, Ommegang.
I want to hand you this so you can start working on it here because that one is going to need to be open. While Robert Likarish from Iron Root tells us about the second one we're trying is also a sleight of hand,
Oh yeah.
but this one's different. Tell us why.
So this is a special edition that's coming out in a couple weeks. This is actually a blend that my brother put together for my mother for Mother's Day. So for those of you guys who don't know, Mom's the big boss at the distillery. She's the one that...
You established that the last time you were on. I believe.
Yes, we actually met her a couple times.
Oh, yeah. And she lets you know. Don't let you worry on that one. But so he decided to do kind of a special blend of the sleight of hand, really tailored to my mom's preferences, her love of a little bit bigger oak. It's got older, darker whiskeys. You look at some of the whiskey in this is over 10 years old.
There's a picture of Mom on there, too.
Oh, yeah.
Dear old Mom.
Dear old Mom on that. That's actually
And it says Mother of Texas Whiskey. So you have a story about that.
I was going to say that photo or that picture right there is actually a tattoo that someone created. That it was a set of temporary tattoos that just showed up to the distillery one day. That someone made it because they got inspired and sent it up. So
that's awesome.
It's she's kind of a little bit of a legend around the state.
I love it. Yeah. My mom is a legend for many things, but not for Texas whiskey. Definitely not. While Ian's pouring that, you're concentrating on blends today. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about blended whiskey, because whiskey is one of those things, like if we're talking about rum, you're talking about blends all the time.
Right.
You're talking about cigars. The blend is everything, right? It's like getting the right blend. But there's a little bit of a stigma towards blended whiskeys. Why is that?
So I think part of it's going to stem from the fact that the term blended means very different things in different countries. In Scotland, in Europe, if you say blend, all it means it's a blend of whiskeys from different distilleries. Now it could be different types of whiskey or just could be all single malt if you're doing it. In the US, blended can be, you can blend with neutral grain spirit. A lot of when you see blended whiskey or just straight up blended whiskey, it means a good portion of that is actually vodka that's actually in that bottle.
I can't remember which.
That's interesting.
I can't remember which bottom shelf it is. It might be JT Brown or one of those. But it says there's a drop of bourbon in every sip.
That's kind of like when I was growing up, my mom used to buy us those big metal cans of high C fruit drink. And on the label on the can, it proudly said, contains 10% real fruit juice. I was like, I'm not so sure I would have put that on the can, because that means it's 90% not real fruit juice.
It's like all the cereals I love. Always have this little thing talking about how healthy it is. And
it's part of a balanced breakfast.
What about it's part of this balanced breakfast? And this balanced breakfast has a bowl of cereal and then eggs and bacon. All this stuff.
If everything else is healthy, it's balanced.
As long as you can handle it in one hand and another, and they feel about the same, that would be a balanced breakfast.
So,
but anyway, blended whiskey though, it's simply you're still blending, like in the best case of blended whiskey, you're still blending for flavor, right?
Right. I mean, especially when you read like the front, it says a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys. So what we've done is we've tried to make the best possible version of when you're blending whiskeys, which is taking all older whiskeys that we really love from around the country, put them together to create something that's a little bit better than the sum of its parts, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
that's just like cigars. Like you could have a cigar that used only really one type of tobacco.
Sure.
And it might be interesting, but it's not going to be as interesting and as complex, right? As if you're blending other tobaccos in there with it.
I wonder if the blended whiskey gets its stain from blended Scotch. If you blend Scotch, basically if your Scotch has something that came outside of the distillery, it's blended, because everybody blends within their own distillery to get their flavor things. But if you take something from outside the distillery, and I don't know that a lot of people understand this part of it. So when you look at a Scotch that says single malt, that's actually telling you two things. It's telling you single, meaning it's all from within the same distillery,
right?
No matter what they use,
what they blended from that distillery,
right? And then malt is the main part of the profile. However, when you're blending whiskeys like this, you're taking premium whiskeys and blending them for a flavor. This is like taking premium ingredients and blending them on your stove for a specific meal or something.
100%. And I think that's like the inspiration. He started out with Compass Box back in the day, where they took these premium scotches and were making these really amazing blended scotches.
Right.
Which is, it'd been a while before companies had really focused on making the best, most premium versions, taking the best things they can find and doing some really great stuff with it. And so
it's been happening in Scotch too for a while. I remember getting a few different blended Scotches that were blended for like the peat monster and a couple others that were blended
100%.
for like that super high peat profile or for some different things like that, which are actually really, really outstanding whiskey. So yeah, the blended thing is very interesting. This is outrageously good.
I was just about to ask, did Mom give this her blessing?
Oh,
This
my
blend?
goodness, yes.
Well,
Does Mom love chocolate-covered oranges?
yeah.
Because holy cow.
Yeah.
So one of my mom's favorite things to do at night is to have a little bit of port with chocolate with a little bit of orange in it. And so that's kind of the inspiration my
Nailed
brother-
it.
Sounds so much like a mom thing.
Yeah. And so
Well,
that's what the
I was going to
inspiration
say
is.
right in here, and I was going to say, if Mom bless this, then bless her, because she's doing great work.
Fantastic.
Wow. I would guess Mom kind of has to bless every blend, right?
Oh yeah. But this one in particular, she said, if you're doing this for me for Mother's Day, I want to make sure I know what I'm getting. So she was sitting in the blending room with my brother, just playing around with, because as I mentioned, we used a lot of older whiskeys with it, and then we created the blend, and then we double barreled it. So we put it in some European oak, from some of my mom's favorite whiskeys that we've had. So it just creates a beautiful
Do
whiskey.
you have any of that beer left?
I do, just a tiny bit.
Take a sip of your beer after sipping the whiskey.
Ooh.
they really blend like crazy.
They really do. As you're fond of saying, they form like Voltron.
Yeah.
They really do. And going back to the whiskey is good too. And I got to tell you,
Wow.
what is a bottle of that going to retail for?
$45.
Are you
Not unreal.
kidding me?
Unreal.
You've got to be kidding me. Okay. All right. I mean, yeah, it might be a little high, but I'll still probably
See if
pick
he can
up
work you a deal.
Yeah. We've spent too long telling people, wow, I can't believe it's that inexpensive, only to watch prices wind up going up. So yeah, a little bit pricey, but maybe worth it. All right, we got to take a break. It's wonderful, and when's it on the shelves?
It'll be about 2 weeks.
All right, look forward.
This
It's
is not going to be on the
Just
shelves
in time
long.
for Mother's Day.
We'll be right back. Oh, so wonderful. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. As Robert Likarish was saying, that last beer and that, tell me again the official name. It's Sleight of Hand, but Mom's, what?
Yeah, it's Mother of Texas Whiskey Edition.
Mother of Texas Whiskey Edition. Those did pair wonderfully
Listen,
together.
do not buy this if you don't love chocolate-covered oranges.
Yeah, and in other words, buy it. Yeah,
That's
Buy it.
pretty amazing.
And can I
really-
say one thing about the content of the bottle was amazing.
Right.
That is one of the most beautiful bottles and labels.
You know, that
I
is
mean,
Yeah,
it
the
is
label
a
is
really
gorgeous.
gorgeous bottle.
you got the Mother of Texas Whiskey right there on the little card that encircles the neck. But it's a beautiful bottle.
Absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
I will point out on there, because I'd be remiss not to, the cards the magician is holding, they're actually, the center symbol is the states that we use for the blend.
Oh, nice.
One of my favorite details on that bottle.
Clever.
That will look so good on my bar shelf. I gotta say, it'll just be one of those shining examples of quality.
Yeah.
You know, I'm loving it. Speaking of quality, some interesting things going on at the Philip Morris Company. Now, I don't necessarily often associate Philip Morris and quality because you think of them as more of a cigarette company, right? But they do also own Swedish Match cigars, and they were getting set to spin that company off. Now, Swedish Match makes some of the bigger names in the cigar industry: Macanudo, CAO, Dunhill, La Gloria Cubana, Punch,
La Gloria
to
Cubana
name
is so
just
good.
a few. But they've delayed their spinoff. They've put it on indefinite hold just because of what's going on with the economy and where things are. And so I think you're seeing a lot of deals like this one that were kind of in the making that are being just put on hold until they can kind of figure out what's happening economically. But it's interesting seeing some of these bigger companies at least planning to opt out of their premium cigar portion of the company. I mean, we saw it when they spun off, Nat Sherman, which allowed me to enjoy Nat Sherman cigars again, because I wouldn't smoke them for a while after that company came out in favor of some of the cigar legends.
Yeah, and it's been nice because that Timeless, they're back to making that, and it's a great blend.
And by the way, speaking of great blends, let's talk a little bit about this cigar that you gave us here. That is the one that started your sort of exploration of the Stallone cigars line. Is this the Habano? Is that right?
It's the Alazan, and it's. I mean, he's the whole line is basically kind of a cowboy series, all after different horses.
They've all got the stallions on there.
On there.
And he trains horses.
He does. This
comes from a love of his.
It is. Yeah. He actually, when I met him, he was living in Miami. He's out like in. I think he's got his horses in Weatherford, Texas now, and he's moved to Fort Worth. In fact, he's got a warehouse now in Fort Worth, so everything gets to me a lot quicker. Obviously, with my stuff, it takes about 4 or 5 months from the time I order mine until they actually land here. Because
which is a bit of, I mean, that's a little while.
Until you've got a little lead time, so you got to time that order.
But you have a very specific blend too, so that's.
I do. Yeah, mine is. Mine is very unique.
So your house cigar here, this vinyl draft from Stallone is beautiful.
Which I'm excited to get to, by the way.
This is a barber pole.
That's what you're smoking.
I'm smoking. It's wonderful.
What are the wrappers on this? It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have to keep putting it down to do stuff, and it just stays lit.
Well, that was one of the things that I loved about the 5-pack of Stallones that he gave us that I took home and smoked rather quickly. But they all had just wonderful burn to them. You could put them down and come back. You didn't have to, do a lot of touch up to them. And even this one here, I mean, usually when I'm smoking a cigar on the show, it goes out a half a dozen times because of the stuff that we're doing. And it usually winds up with a fairly uneven burn line. Not the case here. This is staying lit and working out really, really well.
Yeah, it's and it was interesting the way the next one we'll smoke came to light. He had been here, and it was probably like 11 o'clock one night. We were up here, we were smoking, and he told me, he said, I want to make this cigar just for you. And I'm like, you do that.
How do you even say no to that?
Well, I thought he was kidding. I mean, it's 11 o'clock. It's like, it's fine. And he called me like 10 days later. He said, did you give any more thought to that? And I said, thought to what? And he told us, you were serious about that. So we started having these like long discussions. And I told him, I said, if I were to ever do that, I would want it to be a barber pole. I love just the look of a barber pole.
Yeah.
And he said, well, we don't do a barber pole. I said, well, that's fine. He said, look, if I do this, it'll be the only barber pole this company ever makes.
Wow.
Cool. I had no problem with that whatsoever.
So now you got something really exciting.
Let's do that.
Have something kind of unique, and it was interesting because he actually did the blends himself, and it's such a great story. So he showed up here about 3 months after we had decided that we would start working on it, and we were designing the box together, and he'd send me stuff, and we were going all back and forth, and he had done 5 different blends, and he brought me bundles of each one. And he said, here, smoke these and let me know what you think.
I want to be reincarnated as you.
I know, right? It's got its downsides, trust me. But he brought them and he said, here, smoke all these and let me know what you think. And I was like, oh, great. And as he's describing them to me, he's describing each one of them. And he gets to the last one. And he says, now this. He said, this is the Doug cigar. He said, this is the cigar that I made for my friend. He said, this is everything I know you love. It's coffee, it's vanilla, it's nutty. He goes, this is the one I made for you. He said, so let me know what you think. So I smoke them.
No pressure.
Oh, yeah. So he calls me up like 3 weeks later, and he asked me, he said, did you decide? I said, I did. He said, well, what are your thoughts? And I told him, I said, well, this might just be my self-loathing bubbling up to the surface as it does from time to time. But I hated the Doug cigar. I hated everything about that one. I said, I tried. It just was not there for me. And he got a kick out of it. He thought it was fun, but I was like, Blend 2 was a knockout. Even when I want to try another one, I'm like, no, I still have some of this. And I went to, and that's what we went with. That's the one. And still to this day, it's the perfect cigar for me.
Well, we'll be getting to that in the second hour of the show. Also in the second hour, we have an IPA that Ian has poured that we have not tasted yet. We will get to that.
You haven't tasted yet.
There's more Iron Root whiskey on the way. And I was listening to Doug. It was a good story. And we'll be right back with more. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We're into hour number 2, which means we've already had some things to drink, and we'll be drinking more. Good news is we're on location at Vinyl Draft Social Club in Kemah. Doug Messenger's here. We're going to get to that cigar you were talking about, the one that Stallone blended for you in this segment. I still have a little bit to go, and I don't want to sell this short because I'm really enjoying
this
cigar.
For your barrier of entry for the Stallone line, this is the perfect place to start.
Wonderful, wonderful. Ian poured an IPA, which I see he has already consumed. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what you got out of this? This one is from Manhattan Project Beer Company, which is based in Dallas. It's called Particles Collide. It's their hazy IPA. I'm going to taste it for the first time here, but what did you get?
First off, everything from Manhattan Project is... First off, any... Redo. My mic was on. First off, everything from Manhattan Project is good. Like, I haven't had anything from them that has been less than outstanding. And this, like, when it comes down to an IPA, you know I'm particularly picky about that. This is delicious. This is fruity. This is a little bit of grapefruit on the back end, but it's also got enough boldness and malt content on the front end to keep it as a balanced IPA, and that really matters to me. Like, I get it when people just want that hop bomb, but this has enough hoppiness to be big and bold, but it also has enough malt up front to keep it really round.
Absolutely. As the show's resident IPA guy and resident hophead, I will tell you, there will be IPAs that I love that Ian doesn't like, but he's right on the money about this. The balance, the haziness, the fruit on the end of this, and what I particularly like is, while IPA is probably my favorite style of beer, and I'm obviously a fan of cigars, sometimes I don't get to enjoy the two together because the hop bitterness of the IPA will sometimes work against the cigar. Not the case here. The juiciness and the sort of fruity sweetness of this, plus the malt profile that's up front, does enough to make this... I don't want to say it's necessarily a pairing, but these are not fighting each other. Right. And that makes me love this IPA even more.
Well, you got to have that. You got to have that big malty front end to balance the back end of it, and a lot of times when that's imbalanced, like, it's not going to go with a cigar because the bitter is going to compete. This beer leaves you with a little bit of a candy, almost like because there's a little bitter, not sour but bitter, but almost kind of like the Sour Patch Kids kind of candy underneath. Just leaves you with a little bit of lingering that with a little bit of the bitter from the hops, which is really, really nice on the palate.
Love it.
I got to be honest, when you were kind of going over what we were going to have, and it may have been before we started recording, I remember when you got to this one, I thought, I'm probably not going to dig that one. But it's very nice. I'm very shocked.
So you're not a particular IPA guy, right?
No.
Yeah.
And I don't typically like anything hazy. This just does not sit in my wheelhouse.
Right.
But this is very nice.
So glad. And,
you're done with yours as well.
Yeah, I am not usually an IPA person either, but this reminded me so much of like a Stiegel Radler.
Yeah.
And it's just so lovely and fruity and floral, and it was just such an easy drink. I think this is the first IPA I've ever finished.
And it's coming in at 7.5. So our power ballad is only slightly lower than ours.
Right. It's a power ballad with that big rock finish.
That's right.
It's not so much a winger or a warrant as it is like a big Bon Jovi.
Or a Motley Crue.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, Motley Crue, not the way he sings now, because it's awkward.
Okay, so, all right, so you brought it up. I got to talk about this. As someone who, spent a number of my years of my career in rock radio, and was there when Motley Crue released Home Sweet Home.
This is called
Vince
inciting a rant.
Neil is out of tune on the recording of Home Sweet Home. Now, maybe it was before they invented auto-tune, I don't know. But how they allowed that to be released, much less released as a single. He's out of tune on the freaking song.
I'll
They're
hit
gonna
you
fight.
with that.
They're gonna fight.
Everything Sheryl Crow has recorded is flat.
Ouch.
Ouch.
But all she wants to do is have some fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
True.
A little bit flat.
a little flat.
What else can we fight about musically?
Just leave Springsteen out of this, and we'll be fine.
Okay.
Apparently, she's
No one
a
gets
nice
hurt.
person. Like everyone I know that's met her says she's really nice.
I've met her. I've interviewed her. She was lovely.
Says she's
I,
really nice.
I have the most awkward Sheryl Crow story ever. I
Go
was
on.
working at the radio station and I was the production director, and she came in for one of those, lounges where they played, and one of the morning show DJs said, I want to bring her in and I want to use your studio to record. And they never really introduced me or anything. I just had to get up, and I kind of went over and sat in a chair in the corner of my studio while Sheryl Crow was recorded with something. And I know she was just sitting there thinking, who's this guy sitting in the corner of the studio, not even realizing it was my studio?
He's just staring at me.
He's just sitting there.
She's doing her recording, and she's looking over at you thinking, I bet that's the guy that grabbed Taylor Swift's butt.
Oh, man.
Right?
You just got called out.
She's
my
looking
man.
at you with that kind of suspicion.
That kind of,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get it. We are on location at the Vinyl Draft Social Club, where I bet you've got some Sheryl Crow albums in your collection.
I don't believe I do.
Oh, okay.
No.
So Ian,
Is it because she sings flat?
Ian is vindicated. Ian is vindicated.
Man.
So we are not scoring points with the Sheryl Crow fan club on this
I'm
program.
sure she's lovely as a person.
That's right.
Hey, can I share quickly my favorite story of doing a on-air performance with the band that I was working with?
Mm-hmm.
It was 30 Seconds to Mars. And my son, Alex, who was very young at the time, was such a huge fan of that band. And so I took him, went to the studio, did the performance, and then afterwards I'm introducing him to the band. And he goes up to Jared Leto and he asks, this is the question he asks him: when are they going to make 30 Seconds to Mars the Lego? And Jared just looked at him and just leaned down and just hugged him. That was like the most pure, but that was the one thing he wanted to know, is when does 30 Seconds to Mars the Lego
Best
come out?
interview question
Yeah,
ever.
absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely. It's definitely even better than what I consider my best interview question. After Alanis Morissette's huge album, Jagged Little Pill, was like this enormous success,
Yeah.
she released the follow-up, and she came around and did some interview tours, and I was allowed to interview her. And so I really prepared for the interview, because I'm like, okay, she's a major star. I don't want to go in, and ask BS questions. I want to have really some good stuff. So I spent a lot of time listening to the record, the follow-up record, listening to the songs, kind of getting into what they were about. And so when she comes in and sits down, we're on the microphone.
She's tiny.
Interview starts. I said to her, so I've spent some time with the new album. And she smiles and she's like, oh, great. This guy's actually listening to the record, because I'm sure some of the interviewers don't. I said, you still seem to have some issues. And honestly, I thought I was being insightful, because that's what the record's about. It's about all these issues that she has and how she's working through them.
How is Dave Coulier?
Alanis was
wow.
not appreciative of my line of questioning.
Really?
And the interview kind of spiraled downward from there.
That's a shame, because I actually think the second album's better than the first one.
Yeah, well, and the second album is great.
It's great, but
it's
I
not really
also-
the second album, but yes, I know what you're
I also think that Caddyshack 2 is a better movie than Caddyshack. It's not as funny,
Okay,
but it
now
is
we're
a
going to get
better,
into
it's a better
Gauntlets have
movie.
been thrown.
It's a better movie.
Okay.
More interesting plot.
Strong
It's a
stance.
better movie.
I'm on your side on that one.
Yep.
I'm gonna be honest.
Ian, you want to weigh in here?
No, I'm leaving this one alone.
I think you're a smart man to do that. Let's talk whiskey. Iron Root, we have got Robert and Charlie on from Iron Root. We have another sleight of hand.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How
Yeah, there
did
we go.
you end up with such a cool job?
Me?
Yes.
I am the product of persistence. I have just harassed the Likarish family for long enough that they figured I'm showing up to do these things anyway. They may as well just bring me on board officially.
I love that approach.
Been a big fan of Texas whiskey for a long time.
Employment through attrition.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's generally the way we work.
So, Charlie, I really
This is like, what was that movie with High Fidelity where like, I don't know, these guys just showed up and never left.
So I know you're actually just fairly new getting into this, but what's your, but maybe you're not because you've been showing up at all these things for all this time. What's your assessment of how people have received this brand? I mean, starting a new whiskey brand, how long have you guys been around now?
11 years.
11 years. So starting a new brand 11 years ago, it had to be pretty daunting. I mean, at the time, Texas whiskey wasn't quite as much of a thing as it is now. But here you are, you've got this new brand, you're fighting for shelf space, you're trying to get people's attention so they'll sample it, so they'll buy it. What's your assessment of how things have matured and come around in terms of people being interested in a brand like Iron Root and being able to literally come in and buy it off the shelves? What's your take on where things are now?
I think people, anytime I taste someone who's not familiar with Iron Root, they're always really pleasantly surprised. I think the depth of flavors that we can get in the profiles from Iron Root just really take people, on a whole new ride. They're used to certain things, these certain, expectations of what Texas whiskey, especially Texas bourbons, are going to be, and it's that heavy, dark, funky thing, and a lot of kind of one or two note wonders. And Iron Root, in everything they do, creates all these amazing layers. So you are not getting this one note predominantly heavy end on anything. You're getting this whole beautiful journey that everything they do takes them on.
Can I pause right there? No wonder you hired her. Holy cow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, that was a journey of its own. Keep going.
Yeah. I like you said, everyone has their passion, and Texas whiskey is definitely mine, and particularly Iron Root. They have been a brand that I have been in love with since day one. I think the first time I went up there was during COVID, and I was there for 5.5 hours. I definitely had to stop and get some snacks on the way out of town. We were pretty deep into some barrels by the end of it, but it has been really fun getting to introduce people to what Texas whiskey can be.
Right.
I think Iron Root is really on the forefront of pushing the boundaries into what the expectation should be for Texas whiskeys.
And doing so in a brilliant way. I just have to say, this show today has really had a big effect on my understanding of Iron Root. Because when you've been on the show before, we've had a tendency to taste higher proof things, and they were wonderful. But when I go into, my bar and I take a look and I decide what I'm going to have tonight, if I'm in the mood for something higher proof, definitely that's where I'm heading. But if I'm not necessarily in that, if I just want maybe just more of a casual sipper, I'm going to bypass the Iron Root and go to something else. That's not going to be the case anymore, because these at lower proofs are so approachable, so flavorful. Because to me, that would be the number one critique of the lower proof whiskeys, is that you're not getting the same flavor impact that you're getting when you maybe go for something with a larger proof.
I think that's very whiskey dependent. I think you're right, though.
Yeah.
Like these are so good, because the one we're trying right now comes in at 48%.
But this one is a rye, and I am a fan of the rye.
This is our first rye, and I'll let Charlie talk more about it because I know this is actually one of her favorites.
It is one of my favorites.
But we've been working on rye for a while. Rye is not necessarily the most Texas of grains. We don't grow a lot of it down here. So for us, it wasn't where we started, but it was one of those things we started tinkering around with in the background, and I'm really happy where we ended up with for this kind of the first kind of jaunt into rye. But I figured I'd let you talk about this one a little bit more.
Yeah, I am normally a pretty heavy on the bourbon side when I'm pulling up something to drink, but this rye is just so beautifully balanced. It is not overly peppery, because a lot of time you get those spice notes off of a rye that just tend to be really punchy and heavy. I cannot wait to start on summer cocktails with this. It is just it's what I call my gateway. It's your gateway rye. If you want to start liking ryes, it's going to be the Iron Root sleight of hand.
I am a fan of rye, and my favorite rye whiskeys are basically Texas.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this when we come back. We do have to take a break. We're in the second hour, Smoking and Toasting. Drinking News is right around the corner, and we'll be right back.
In the beginning, so the story goes.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're enjoying all of those things. There's so much to talk about. I just want to go back to the rye for a moment that we tried in the last segment and mention that one of the reasons I'm such a fan of rye is the spicy. Something about the spiciness of rye that has a tendency to go well with cigars. And I just wanted to mention how well this one went with what I was smoking at the time, which was the Habano. Now, Ian pointed out during the break how reluctant we all were to put that down.
Yeah.
But we wanted to take have an opportunity to smoke this one that
talk about this
was done exclusively for Vinyl Draft. And I gotta say, I'm about a millimeter in there, and already this is delighting me.
It is.
This is a wonderfully flavorful cigar. So,
like really light on the earth, gentle, like nutty kind of sweetness to it. And I know this cigar because I've been smoking quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Because me and Alan split a box last time we were here. And this cigar ramps up just a little bit here once you get well into that. I'm assuming that's a Maduro wrapper, and then what is that, Connecticut?
Yep.
And it's so nice. So you get all those blend of flavors. It's so complex.
Well, I had Ian pour me a little more of the rye because I thought it was as good as an excuse as I could come up with, was that I wanted to be able to sample it with this cigar. But again, just a beautiful pairing between the spiciness of the rye with the sort of nuttiness and earthiness of this cigar. And I think this is wonderful. So is this something that they continue to make for you? In other words, is this limited?
Yeah. No.
When you run out, or he'll continue to make them for you?
He'll continue to make them for me.
And there's a beautiful hint of coffee on the end of it, too.
So my thinking is, if you're in the greater Houston area, you need to make a trip to Kima. Number one, you need to have dinner downstairs. Number two, you need to buy some of these. And number three, you need to come up here in the lounge and smoke them, and maybe listen to something other than Sheryl Crow on the vinyl, because I think we've established that's problematic for at least some people.
And I should say I do have some Motley Crue in there though.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah,
So
very good.
And Motley Crue is great. I don't want to see a recent live because Vince Neil's a little sketchy on the vocals there.
He was sketchy back then, is what I'm telling you. That song is out of tune on that song. He's fine
But he's on
on
his way,
girls. But, Home Sweet Home, yeah. Home Sweet
I'm sorry,
Home.
you know what's funny is when I think, I guess I'm a little too old school, because when I think of Motley Crue, I think of before the girls.
You think it's Shout at the Devil, and that's
I think all the way up to Theater of Pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where, and after that, they were good. That's fun, big dumb rock. I love it, but yeah.
I gotta say, just the bottom end alone of Dr. Feelgood forgives a lot of future sins. I can overlook a lot of stuff just because of the
Nikki
bottom
Sixx
end.
has got it going
back
on.
to that.
Yes, yes.
He definitely does. By the way, if you have not read his book,
Oh yeah,
it is one of the most amazing
it's
things
fascinating.
that you will read, and the accompanying album is fantastic from 6 a.m.
So I read The Dirt, but I never read Nikki Sixx.
You got to read. Nikki's book is much better even than The Dirt,
Wow.
and way better than the Dirt series on Netflix.
Oh, that was
which
awful.
is
That's the Heroin Diaries.
right, Heroin Diaries.
Yeah.
And there's an accompanying album by 6 a.m. that is
really
a gorgeously wonderful rock and roll. It's just amazing.
I'll
And
sidetrack on book real quick just because you should all read it. Most interesting book I've read recently is by Stanley Tucci, and it's called What I Ate in 1 Year. He documented every meal he had for a year.
Okay, and that's interesting.
And sometimes he's having dinner with celebrities, and he talks about it. Other times it's what he had for lunch at home that day. But it was the commitment to just, I'm going to document everything I eat for 1 solid year, and it's all over the place.
I
But
just
it's
have one thing to
interesting
say
read.
about him. The Jesus. They have a movie now that's just the Jesus.
We can always count on Terry, our producer, for the best pop culture references.
There you go.
And we appreciate him. And often his T-shirts are just a thing of beauty on their own. I don't know what you're wearing today.
This
I
one
can't
says
see it.
beans, beans, the musical fruit.
Well, see, this is what I'm talking about. We can always glean wisdom.
Wear that in a
from
family
Terry's
photo.
T-shirts. Yeah.
Okay, I got to hear about Saints Alley because
All right, this is the final whiskey. Ian has poured it, and you've done your research already, I take it.
This is round. That cognac comes through really big.
Show this bottle to the camera, would you?
And the label's beautiful on it as well.
Mm.
Is it better
All right,
on
so
this
one, when you look at the packaging, when you look at the labeling on the bottle, this one just screams sophisticated. And it kind of is. Ian mentioned cognac. It's got a little of that cognac kind of vibe to it. Tell us about this whiskey.
So Saint Sally is a line that we teamed up with one of our really good friends named Chris Trevino. He's a liquor hound on YouTube. So if you're penchant to watching whiskey reviews on YouTube, go check him out. He's been doing it for
Fantastic.
15 years now, I think.
That's a shout out right there.
So he's a Fort Worth boy. Had a great time. He's got a collection of like 4,000 whiskeys in his house. His poor wife. It's everywhere. It's in the kitchen. It's living room. Like every surface of his house is covered with shelves for whiskey bottles. But what's really fun about this? So we've took this kind of the idea of blending whiskeys from, we distill stuff from all over the place, and then applying a lot more of our kind of French techniques for maturation. So we create blends, and then we put them in these finishing barrels for anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. And so the Saint Sally, the one we have in front of us, is actually the port and cognac finished.
So this is why we're picking up these notes.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And batch 10 here is really fun because not only is it the cognac, which is all 20-plus-year-old cognac casks, we actually have white port and tawny port that are used in this. And white port just adds body and it smooths everything out and makes it such an enjoyable drink. And it's one of my favorite things to do with cigars. So
port and cigars can be absolutely wonderful, as can rum and cigars, as can this.
The oak finish on this is exquisite.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about it when we come back. We'll also talk drinking news. That's next on Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. I am holding a bottle of absolute joy in my hand.
That's pretty
amazing.
here.
This is the Saints Alley bottle. It has a 10 there. What's the 10 signify?
That's the 10th batch.
Okay.
What is that going to cost at the store?
That was my next
is that
question.
released?
So that one will be anywhere between $49 and $59.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
See, I feel like this is a horrible day for us to not have the fanfare.
Right. Exactly. No, as I would prefer to say, forget what Ian said and listen to me. I think that's a little pricey, but I could be convinced to buy a bottle.
I've always set a rule. I have to be able to afford my own whiskey. And so
that's a good rule.
Yeah.
I love that. I have a rule here on the program. It's like, I can never be afraid to embarrass myself. And as a result, ladies and gentlemen, it is time.
Oh my goodness.
For drinking news. I have to give Ian a moment to be ready here.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, Drinking News is a segment on our program where we bring you a story from the news. It's not a parody from The Onion or as enjoyable as those could be. It's a story that actually appeared in the news, and we'll bring it to you. And these stories are sometimes, but not always, about drinking. But they are always best enjoyed if you've been drinking.
And we have.
I'm out.
On today's Drinking News, we want to take a moment to talk about what has become an international sensation, and that is Netflix. What started out as a DVD rental through the mail service and became the biggest streaming television operation in the world got off to a great start. The first original series on Netflix were pretty awesome. In fact, if you forget about Richie Rich, which most people have, the early Netflix shows were all pretty amazing. House of Cards was incredible.
I had totally forgotten about Richie Rich.
Bloodline was very good and very underrated. Grace and Frankie was hysterically funny, and Orange is the New Black became a social media sensation. But lately, the network's batting average has slipped considerably. Movies and series like Fubar, an Arnold Schwarzenegger comedy, yes, you heard me correctly, don't live up to the early Netflix standards.
How did I miss that?
Racket Boys, a sort of South Korean Bad News Bears about kids on a badminton team, is pretty tough to watch. And I don't know anyone who made it to an episode of Blockbuster, a sitcom about people who work in a video rental store.
Oh boy.
You know, there's only one
it's called what?
Blockbuster. There's only one Blockbuster still even operating in the U.S. This was supposed to be kind of like the TV show The Office, but instead it was more like your real office.
It's
tedious and boring.
You know, Blockbuster could have bought Netflix.
hold on. It's funny that there's only one Blockbuster left because I see those red boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh, they're shutting those down too.
outside- are they really?
Yeah, they're shutting those down too.
Because they're
And you know,
busy.
They're
Blockbuster
going.
could have bought Netflix.
they're busy at my Walgreens.
Really, they're,
Yeah.
they're shutting a lot of them down. As a matter of fact, they were just giving people out the red box movies out of some
here.
of them.
Oh,
Here,
Yeah.
here, take this Arnold Schwarzenegger Fubar movie. Go for it.
I've never even heard of that.
But then
Blockbuster turned down buying Netflix. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh
and
my
you know
gosh.
how close Netflix was to not even happening? They actually, when they sent their first test DVD in the mail, the two guys that came up with the idea, they thought this would be a great idea and they sent it across town and everything was fine. And then when they had to send it to a little bit farther, the next DVD got crushed.
Okay. And from those ashes, an empire was born.
rising from the ashes like a phoenix.
But in addition to the troubled Netflix drama series, there's the docuseries and the based on a true story shows. It seems that Netflix will take anything that happens in the world and try to make a show about it. And that's why I'm betting that today's main story on Drinking News will debut as a Netflix series before we even get to our third beer on the show. And I'm pretty sure Ian's pouring that in this segment. In fact, I should give you
I would be if you give it to me.
the third beer because it's going to require some opening.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So
Ooh, that's beautiful.
our story is about a Washington man,
Washington man.
state, not D.C., a Washington man that was recently arrested by police for burglary. Did he steal expensive jewelry? Nope, he didn't. Was it cash from a home safe? Nope. Did he steal televisions or pricey electronics? Again, no. He stole a chicken. A video of his capture by authorities has gone viral on social media, showing police officers arresting a sobbing man in the forest after he allegedly stole his ex-girlfriend's chicken named Polly.
Oh.
Polly, where are you?
This was not a random chicken.
According to the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office, a woman called 911 last week to report that her unnamed ex broke into her house and then abducted and fled with the chicken. The robbery victim claims, and this is my favorite part, that the thief screamed, "I've got Polly!" multiple times
Stop, chicken thief.
before making a break for it and running away into the woods. Police body cam footage shows the cops finding the man in the nearby woods, and the burglar can be heard in the video footage saying, "Don't hurt my chicken," while crying and clutching the very confused and clucking Polly. Officers apparently told the unidentified Washington man, "That's fine. Just hold your chicken. I'm not going to hurt your chicken." And eventually, the bird burglar complied and was arrested, still sobbing, all the way to the patrol vehicle.
Bird burglars.
The cops also put the chicken in the squad car, but assured the distraught
Chicken
suspect
under arrest too.
that the bird would be returned to its owner unharmed. The chicken,
Once we clear all the chicken charges.
Did they have tiny little cuffs for him?
the chicken, which was apparently not even given a chance to cross the road, is
Did
now
they read the Miranda
safely,
rights?
safely back at home. The Bird Randa writes, now, we've not been able to absolutely confirm this, but given the tendency of Netflix to make a true crime documentary or reenactment of just about anything, I would not be surprised if they are working to option the chicken story and turn it into yet another Netflix series of some kind. And while the story itself is pretty bizarre...
I'm as free as a chicken now, baby.
While the story is pretty bizarre, I would also not be surprised to find that they juice it up with some additional stuff that may not have actually happened, but that they think might be, good in making for a more excellent story.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Boo.
I couldn't resist. Maybe I am turning into my dad.
You do know there was a documentary called Chicken People.
Yes.
So I can only assume this is the sequel that we're talking
Holy
about.
cow.
Chicken people?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
The crazy thing is that I have to admit, if they make the title for the show alluring enough, I will probably watch it. Which tells you a lot about my current standards for what I consider to be entertaining, and I probably have just a little too much free time on my hands. But that said, the title of the thing will be critical. Nobody is going to watch a show called A Man Stole a Chicken. I mean, it would be like if instead of naming their show The Tiger King, they called it A Crazy Man and Some Big Cats. No, the title will be everything. And so that's why, with surprisingly very little prompting, we've come up with some suggestions for the name of the series. And even though a recent court order makes it questionable as to whether I'm allowed to share them with you or not, I am throwing caution to the wind and bringing you another Drinking News Top 5 list.
Oh, yeah.
This would be our top 5 suggested titles for the inevitable Netflix series about the guy who stole the chicken. Top 5 suggested titles about the guy who stole the chicken. Number 5, I've Got Polly, The Abduction. Number 4, Running Afoul of the Law. See what I did there?
There we go.
Number 3, Abducted, the Foghorn Leghorn documentary. Number 2, Poultrygeist 3, The Peckening.
Oh, nice.
And the number 1 suggested title for the inevitable Netflix series about the guy who stole the chicken, number 1, Don't Choke the Chicken, a Netflix special series. Reporting
Can
live.
I put one in there?
Yeah, sure.
Have you seen my cock?
Oh, that's
I wasn't gonna
We
go
don't know if
there.
it was a male chicken. I mean,
I
it was a
wasn't gonna
Polly.
go
Come
there.
on.
It's still a
Polly.
chicken.
Polly. It's Polly.
Yeah, come on.
If Polly's
he just
I
wanted
feel
to
like
say
you
it
could've
so
worked
bad.
Yeah.
Polly can identify how
Polly's
Polly
in the
wants.
pocket. Where does
Polly
she
wants a
go?
cracker. Reporting live from a prison in Washington State where some guy's crying in his cell because the inmates were served chicken wings for dinner. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. And oh my. And I say oh my because I just tasted
my.
this beer.
I thought you were going for a George Takei kind of.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, my.
that's like the greatest oh my of all time. Seriously.
Oh.
Nobody does it better.
Oh.
Beer wise, this is what I was looking forward to trying the most.
Okay, well, this is from Masthead Brewing Company. They're out of Cleveland, Ohio. This is their coconut coffee Sunkiller.
This
an
is
Imperial
beautiful.
That is as black as midnight.
What can it tell you from the bottle, Ian, about this particular beer?
Let's see. 1 pint coming in at 14.6 ABV, bottled in 2024 coconut coffee Sunkiller. Imperial stout aged in Blanton's bourbon barrels, conditioned on toasted coconut and espresso roast coffee.
So the Blanton barrels does explain what I'm picking up next to the coconut and the flavor profile.
The interesting thing is the coffee doesn't take over everything like it does in a lot of stouts.
Correct.
The coconut,
A lot
the
of coffee
toasted
stouts.
coconut really comes through.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
coffee stouts are very coffee forward.
Yeah, the coffee in this is kind of a supportive role, and it's really, really good. There's also a little bit of like the dark fruit, like like date or dark raisin
Yeah,
kind of
definitely
notes in the
raisin.
back of that. Yeah,
But
it's
I'm just,
really nice.
I'm super excited about the flavor that the Blanton barrels have imparted to this,
It's
because
really
it's
good.
got this wonderful booziness that just like is perfect for a show where we're not doing anything below 7.5% ABV.
Well, there's that.
No, but this is really wonderful, and let me tell you about how it marries up with this cigar, the Vinyl Draft Special Edition from the guys at Still Own
It's
Cigars.
pretty beautiful.
Wow, and we can only get the cigar here, right? What
Yep.
does a box of these cost?
$170.
That's not a bad
Worth
price.
every
Yeah.
penny.
Yeah, this is good stuff here, and it just meshes beautifully with this. And I'm going to go back once again to this. Where's that bottle I was loving so much?
That's the one. The
Saints Alley. Yeah, sorry, it was taking me a minute to read it. I'm getting old. The Saints Alley is so wonderful with this. And tell me again the retail on Saints Alley.
Between $49 and $59.
Okay, so
You
you are going
people
to have a
lost
job
your
to
mind.
do, and that is going to be to restock the shelves with this after we tell people that you can pick that up for that price.
I'll be on it.
So, how far regionally? Like, I know this is available here in Texas. Are you outside of Texas?
So the Saints Alley is available nationwide at any Total Wine nationwide. You can get that.
Nice.
The Mother of Texas Whiskey is only going to be at Specs here in the state of Texas. So that one's
Okay.
only available here. The Sleight of Hand Bourbon is available now nationwide at any Total Wine. And the Rye is available at all stores here within Texas, but also will be available at Total Wines nationwide here later this year.
You know, one of the problems that I'm
Fantastic.
having with the whiskeys on today's show is I'm having a hard time figuring out which one I liked best.
Oh,
They were all so good, each in their
I have
own,
a
in their own
favorite.
way. What's your
And I
favorite?
have this one,
Mom blend.
that's fine.
Yeah.
the Mother's Blend.
Mhm.
So, like the chocolate and orange coming through on that is so outrageously good.
Oh,
The-
a little-
probably next up is going to be the Saints Alley.
Yeah, I'm a little partial to the Saints Alley myself.
That's pretty good.
That's hard to go wrong, but they've all been good. And what I find interesting, and I'm so glad that you did this, is bringing a group of whiskeys that are lower proof. Because again, my impression of Iron Root, based on our previous shows, has been that you guys do really great higher proof whiskeys.
Yeah.
And they do.
And they do, and they're wonderful. And when I'm in the mood for that, like I said, that's what I go to in my bar. But this proves that you are playing for real in this area of the
100%.
whiskey game. So, all right, Terry's giving me the signal that we're about to take a break here. So we are on location at Vinyl Draft in Kemah, Texas. Which again, I can't stress enough how wonderfully laid back this cigar lounge is. That's upstairs here.
It helps
at
that we're
Vinyl.
closed today.
Well, but that does make it harder to get a steak.
It makes it very hard.
Yes. So I recommend coming on a day when they're not closed, enjoying the steak, and then coming up and enjoying a cigar. We got to take a break. We'll be back to close out the show. It's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for listening. Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled
Love
cigars.
those things.
We're enjoying all of those things, which makes this one of our favorite shows ever. When we are on location at our home away from the studio at Vinyl Draft in Kemah, we're able to smoke. We're able to enjoy the beers. We're able to enjoy the spirits. In today's case, Iron Root whiskeys, all of which, by the way, have been spectacular.
Here,
And,
here.
You know,
Thank you. Thank you.
Sometimes we get criticism from people who say, you know, you guys like everything. And by the way, that's not true. Have you heard me talk about Gurkha cigars? But the point is that when stuff is good, we're going to tell you that it's good. And we've had, 5 excellent whiskeys on this show today. And 5?
So good.
We're about to have 5. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. I thought we'd go there.
Four.
Is there
I think our
anything we
bottle
have?
counts at 4 right
Oh,
now.
all right. I counted 4. Is there anything we missed?
There's nothing that we missed. There's things we're going to have afterwards, though.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So, you know, we need to start doing a
this
post-show
gives
bonus.
us-
This will be a bonus.
This
bonus
gives
segment.
us a good reason to have you guys on real soon.
I love it. What is in the future? I mean, obviously you guys have got a lot of expressions available now. But what is next for you?
So we've got a lot of really fun whiskeys coming the end of this year. We've got one that's going to be called Cellar Reserve. We've got a couple things that we're doing specifically for pairing with cigars at the end of the year. So that's
Awesome.
I'm really, really excited.
Sounds like
I
a
kind
show
of
at
want to get
Vinyl
up
Draft.
and hug you right now.
Yeah. We've got one that's going to be special. That's going to be at Specs here in Texas, and then we've got one that's going to be going to Total Wine nationally. So get ready for that. So if you like the Saints Alley, get ready.
So Ian, you were talking about hugging him. It reminds me of my favorite episode ever of Cheers, where Norm gets a job as a beer taster.
Yes.
And first day on the job, they put him in the lab coat. He goes and they bring him into the brewery. He just walks up to one of the tanks and hugs it.
That would be called a mash tun.
Yeah, that's right. I love it. Well, honestly, everything we've had today has paired beautifully with cigars. So if you've got specific blends coming to do that, I can't even imagine.
I'm super excited about that.
How great that's going to
Because
be.
right now, there are blends that go so great with cigars, but there are a couple specific ones like the Dalmore Cigar Malt, which is
Sure.
outrageously good.
Oh yeah.
And I love to hear that you're making some stuff that goes with specifically with cigars.
I think it's a pretty smart business move too, because there are so many cigar smokers who are also whiskey lovers. So
It's a great Venn diagram. I will definitely say that.
absolutely love it. Charlie, what's your thoughts so far? How long have you been now with Iron Root?
With Iron Root, it's in an official capacity.
Yeah.
A week and a half.
Okay.
Wow!
But in all fairness, I knew of you long before I knew you.
Yeah.
Your involvement.
She made her presence
She
known.
did. I mean, your involvement in Texas whiskey is just. I mean, and that's why it was so cool to see you. Oh, she's working with Iron Root now, because I have sort of followed your exploits on the Texas whiskey trail.
Definitely get around the Texas whiskey.
Yes, you
scene,
do.
for sure.
You do.
Yeah,
I
Doug
love
really
that.
wanted her. We were in here. She was real like, I'm not going to be on the show. I'm just going to sit over here on the
no,
side.
no,
I was
no,
like,
no,
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 you got to
Instagram.
come on the show.
I do have an Instagram.
What is your Instagram?
I am at Oh Hot Dram.
Hot Dram.
Oh Hot
Oh,
Dram.
Hot Dram. I love that. That
And I bought a shirt. I've got a shirt that I bought, the Texas whiskey, the yellow one.
I love that one.
Yeah, I'm
So I'm going to give you a big idea for selling stuff here. I think since you're Charlie, and Charlie XCX is such a big thing, you should totally do shirts or hats that say Whiskey Brat.
I should.
That
I
would be a
absolutely should.
big,
there you go.
big deal.
And tell
I'm on
me, because you just
coming this fall.
you became a whiskey sommelier, didn't you, recently?
Yes, yeah, I am a level 2 certified whiskey sommelier. So
wow.
all that means is I have overeducated myself into whiskey.
But it was fun.
Don't
It
downplay
has
it.
been a lot
That's
of fun.
super
If I'm
awesome.
going to have to learn about anything, I am so happy that it is going to be whiskey.
I am so happy for you, and I'm so happy for us to be able to learn from you. This is
And
this
as
is a
Cruz
pretty
likes to
exciting
say, a little bit mad at my high school counselor saying, not telling me there was a job like
Yes,
this.
yeah, hello.
It's like,
Yeah.
man, I can go
They
to school
even-
for whiskey. They
didn't
missed
even
that.
bring it up. There was no nothing even close to a mention of that. They didn't even talk about being like a wine sommelier. Like, come on, these high school guidance counselors have got to get with the game.
You have been wronged, my friend.
I have, and I feel wronged in my
Yes.
heart about
As
it.
you should. as
And
you
so that's where we are at. Well, Doug, I just want to say again how much we love your place here.
It's
And,
always a pleasure having such highly respected media personalities.
Right, and
Join
also
me here.
Ian and me.
Yeah.
So
I like being here too.
yeah, exactly. No, but this is always great fun when we get together here. You guys, Iron Root, you guys are on fire. It's so thrilling to see what you were doing for Tech. As a person who's a proud Texan, it's great for me to see you guys representing our state with such really, really quality products.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
It's a really, really cool thing. And it's, as a person who loves whiskey, it's just fun to drink them.
Yes.
So Ian, anything you want to tell us about what's coming up on the show?
Man, I wish you'd give me a little heads up on that because
Well, it's not like I ever asked you this about this time on the program.
You need to put Post-it notes on the back of the ukulele, and then you can just kind of read it.
We had some on the back of the
Thank you, Ohio.
bottle of beer, but they
Cleveland
coming
Rocks.
up soon, we got the Spirit Box with Rob and with Roberto and Fowler.
Oh my gosh!
Then we got James Corona from Still Austin coming in. We got Travis Thompson coming back. We're going to do a wine and cigar pairing on location
Oh, nice!
at some point. Like that guy likes to pair wines with stuff, and I like to follow him around on that. And then at the end of the month, we got Danielle Gray coming in with Angels Envy.
Ooh, here we go.
So we're going to have
Some fun
some
stuff.
fun
Yeah.
people coming in
Yeah.
on the show.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we particularly enjoy is just getting to hang with and talk with people who love the same things that we love, which is great spirits and great cigars and great craft beer. And I love the way you guys enjoyed the craft beer on today's show.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was
How could we not?
really fun. Ian, speaking of craft beer, is there anything left from that bottle of...
Why, there's probably just enough left, sir.
I love when there's just enough. Folks, we appreciate you most of all. This is the 430th edition of Smoking and Toasting. How many beers is that?
Times 3.
See, I don't do
minimum.
the math on the show, so Ian's responsible for all the
1,000 plus,
A
right?
lot.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you hanging with us through all of those beers, and we're the kind of people who are committed to doing that for you, and we appreciate you being a part of it. Guys, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
having
hanging
us.
with us. We'll see you guys next week for Smoking and Toasting. If you are in a market that does not carry us on the radio, go to your local station and demand that they have Smoking and Toasting.
I
Say,
want
I want my
my
S&T.
S&T.
Yeah, thank you. We didn't borrow that from MTV at all. Have a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Until then, cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, everybody.